Picture this, a young boy, just 8 years old, suddenly becomes king of an entire nation. Sounds like something out of a fantasy story, right? But this actually happened in ancient Judah with a remarkable kid named Josiah. Now, you might think being a child king was all about living in luxury and having endless candy feasts. I mean, who wouldn't at that age? But Josiah was different. While most kids his age were playing games, he was learning how to lead a kingdom. And here's where it gets really interesting. One day, when Josiah was around 26, something extraordinary happened during some renovation work at the temple. Hidden away, collecting dust for who knows how long, workers discovered an ancient scroll, the Book of the Law. This wasn't just any old document. This was basically God's instruction manual for how his people should live. When the scroll was read to young King Josiah, he was absolutely shocked. He realized his people had strayed so far from their spiritual path that they'd completely forgotten these sacred teachings. Can you imagine finding out that everything you and your people had been doing was basically the opposite of what you were supposed to do? But here's what makes Josiah truly remarkable. Instead of just shrugging it off or hiding the scroll away again, he took dramatic action. He literally tore his robes in distress and immediately started the biggest spiritual cleanup campaign in Judah's history. Picture this energetic young king personally going through the temple, ordering the removal of all the pagan altars and false idols. He was like a spiritual Marie Kondo, but instead of asking, does this spark joy? He was asking, does this honor God? If not, out it went. This wasn't just a small-scale operation either. Josiah took his reform show on the road, traveling throughout the kingdom, dismantling pagan worship sites and restoring proper worship of God. He was basically a one-man revolutionary movement, armed with truth and determination. But perhaps the most powerful part of this story is how one young person's courage to embrace truth and act on it can change an entire nation. Josiah didn't let his age stop him from doing what was right. He led one of the most significant spiritual revivals in history, proving that you're never too young to stand up for what you believe in and make a real difference. In today's world, where it's easy to feel like we're too young, too inexperienced, or too ordinary to make a difference, Josiah's story reminds us that transformative leadership can come from the most unexpected places. Even from an 8-year-old boy who became a king, Josiah's story isn't just about religious reform. It's about having the courage to stand for truth when you discover it, regardless of your age. It's about not being afraid to challenge the status quo, even when you're young. It's about understanding that sometimes the most powerful changes start with simply rediscovering what was lost. In our world today, where we often dismiss young voices and leadership, Josiah's story reminds us that wisdom isn't always about age. It's about having the courage to act on truth when you find it.